There is no doubt that this 2020 has turned out to be one of the worst years in recent times. Never in 100 years, perhaps even in the history of humanity, has a pandemic put at risk and on alert every country on the planet. Undoubtedly catastrophic events that, according to the followers and researchers of Nostradamus' work, are strongly related to his poetic quatrains written for the first time in 1555, when his book called The Prophecies was published, informing the occurrence of future events. In the book, researchers were surprised when they read and concluded the predictions regarding the start of the Second World War, the rise of Hitler, and the fall of the Twin Towers. Events described with almost impossible precision. And since our last video on those predictions, you could also testify that his 2020 quartet was also right. The Great Plague of the Maritime City. It will not cease until the death of the just blood is avenged, condemned for a price without crime. Is nothing more than a direct mention of the Chinese city of Wuhan, a city that, although it is far from the coast, it is known that the virus emerged in a seafood market, having there its connection with the sea. It is also mentioned that the plague will not cease until the death of the righteous blood is avenged, which could refer to the entire animal holocaust that for centuries we have been carrying out, treating the rest of the animals as mere plants, sacrificing them to serve us as mere resource without any other value, condemning them at a gigantic price, without having incurred any crime. One more evidence that is added to the list of prophecies that this man managed to decipher almost 500 years ago. However, the reason this video gathers us is because of the existence of an additional quartet that, according to the analysts and scholars of these prophecies, refers to events that are about to occur this 2021. Let me say that the objective of this video is not to depress you, nor to frighten you, but I feel that my duty is to inform you, so that you are the one who decides how to best interpret what you're about to hear. According to the scholars of his book, Nostradamus would have predicted the next year would be far worse than the year that is now ending. His writing was as follows. Few young people, half dead to begin with, dead out of spite. In an exalted place, great evils will occur. Sad concepts will come to harm each one. Temporal fathers and mothers, dead of the infinite pains. Women in mourning. A pestilential monster. The great one will be no more. The whole world will end. Many say that here Nostradamus was wrong, that this quartet is related to what we actually experienced during the current year, 2020. That the expression, a pestilential monster, refers to the pandemic, and in reference to the phrase, a place exalted, great evils will occur, could be related to the great social outbreaks that occurred in several countries, including the United States. Outbreaks in which its citizens incurred as a result of police brutality, as well as the political polarization that emerged from the recent presidential elections, or bad decisions in the face of the health crisis. Phrases that fit very well with what has happened this year. However, the most knowledgeable about Nostradamus' work assure that this quartet speaks of what we will begin to live next week with the arrival of 2021, auguring that for humanity even more complicated times are ahead. With the phrase the whole world will end, it does not refer to a catastrophic event worldwide, but it appeals to the established order, to the current society that has governed until now. That order established on the basis of hierarchies will simply end, giving way to something completely new, and for that same reason, unpredictable. The phrase that appeals to few young people, half dead to begin with, dead out of spite. It refers to these new generations due to the already disastrous inflated economy, plus the health crisis. They are increasingly depressed, more preoccupied by not being able to live or develop normally. Higher studies that extend for years, price of unattainable homes. Hundreds of debts have transformed the youngest, the new generations, young people with a resentful heart. Some think that the phrase, sad concepts, really refer to the fact that the youth population is going to decrease dramatically. However, for experts, this is the sign of an evident cultural decline among the younger population, where fanaticism for a certain ideology will cloud common sense. Nostradamus predicts a very great economic crisis that will shake the entire planet, a process that, according to some, we are already experiencing, not only to job losses resulting from the pandemic, but also due to the fierce trade war between the United States and China, countries that for some time have been competing to lead the financial destiny of the entire world. The worst of all is that the quartet is not only the phrase you just heard, it is followed by this. What do you think this means? Could we be close to the emergence of a third war conflict on a world scale? Could it be that the COVID vaccine will be useless? Could it be that the virus will mutate and now we will have to accept living the rest of our lives behind masks and extreme care to avoid infections? Studies believe that the next crisis refers to an earthquake that could literally shake the United States, and that in fact, it is what Nostradamus refers to as a giant that will fall. You see, in all of America there is a geological phenomenon called the Ring of Fire, points that concentrate the main sources of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes in the region. Some believe it could be 2021, when an earthquake awakens the sleeping giant of Yellowstone. An earthquake that will shake the San Andreas Fault, making events very similar to those that were cinematically shown in the movie 2012. Note that due to those coincidences, that movie was created due to the Mayan calendar and other predictions that pointed to the year 2012 as the end of the world. But what if they mixed up the last two numbers, and it was really 2021? Something to ponder. Although this is nothing more than theories without strong evidence, there is something that is indeed beginning to worry. It turns out that a few months ago in Chile, a country also subject to the belt of fire, small earthquakes have been occurring that remind the citizens of that country a lot of what happened months before the great earthquake of 2010. Let's not forget that this country was the scene of one of the largest earthquakes in memory. In 2010, 8.8 on the Richter scale was what the seismographs marked that night, leaving hundreds of deaths and hundreds of damage to infrastructures that were in fact raised with these earthquakes in mind. The worrying thing is that throughout 2010, small tremors that were increasing in intensity were the ones that foreshowed that earthquake of great magnitude. Something since August 2020 has been repeating in Chile. Constant tremors that awaken a bitter memory in Chileans. Scholars of these prophecies believe that such an earthquake could cause a domino effect that could culminate in the San Andreas Fault. There are many scientists who hope that very soon in the city of Los Angeles, the big one will occur. An earthquake that would be catastrophic, finding its origin in the San Andreas Fault. An earthquake that would not only leave losses in the economy and infrastructures, but the most regrettable thing would undoubtedly be the thousands of human lives that will be lost.
Interesting.
Is humanity prepared to face what we are on the verge of experimenting, according to the Nostradamus quatrains? Will we witness all this during 2021? Only unstoppable time will give us the answers to that. Stay alert